Come, let us meditate like a Jedi. I'd like to start by answering a question from Reddit. Allow me to read. Currently, my grandmother is in hospice care, but the last few days she has become extremely unwell. Every day I visit, the doctors say she might not make the night. I feel tired and sad. During my meditations, often what comes up is not just my grandmother, but the other griefs I've experienced. Before this, I meditated daily, and I still try to, as long as I have the time. I think meditating regularly has given me the emotional space to handle what is happening. I have been more present for myself and my grandmother. But none of this feels easy. She raised me like her child. It feels like losing my parents all over again. I don't know what to say. I think I might just be looking for some kind words. Thank you. Okay, so here's how this works. Feeling grief is a good sign. It means we're not a sociopath. It means we do not suffer from a cluster B personality disorder. The key to a fulfilling life is empathy. When rage, when hate, when fear and aggression are our guiding light, we might have the trappings of success, but we won't have fulfillment. The price of fulfillment is empathy. The price of empathy quite often is great discomfort. Please do not make the mistake that I made. Way back in the early 80s, I was quite enthusiastic but quite confused. And in my enthusiasm, I thought it's truly spiritual not to feel anything at all. And when my stepfather killed himself, I tried to pretend I was a little Vulcan. And I paid a terrible price for that. I experienced the symptoms of depression afterwards, and the experts I've spoken to agree that the triggering event for that depression was most likely failing to grieve. Grieving is messy. There's tears, there's snot, but it's part of the process. The key to mindfulness is vulnerability. Vulnerability is also the price we pay in order to be empathetic, in order to be a good person, in order to have a fulfilling life. It takes great courage to exercise this vulnerability. So allow me to reassure you. Neither sorrow nor turmoil are indictments. But on the other hand, neither are they acquittals. They just are. The great Buddhist reformer Vajra of Pakistan, present-day Pakistan, who is known as Gaurab Dorje in Tibet, would have said that as we relax into our exhalation, whatever sorrow or joy we noticed during our previous inhalation could melt into the simplicity of just emotional energy. Let's put it another way. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever peace or turmoil we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could feel as if it was melting into the simplicity of just emotional energy. This sentiment is repeated often in Buddhist writings. The idea is emotions, once again to repeat myself, neither acquit us nor convict us. They are just very energetic phenomena. When we notice them and relax into them in cooperation with our breathing, a tremendous benefit ensues. What if enlightenment was nothing more than mastering the tools of the Eightfold Path? Being a Buddha doesn't mean we are unable to feel certain things. It simply means we've gotten so good at the tools of the Buddha's Eightfold Path that we practice them spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. As children, we found the learning to use the toilet, learning to brush our teeth, learning to tie our shoes, learning to ride our bikes. At times, those felt insurmountable. But after with time and effort and tears, we finally got so good at those things that we were able to practice them spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. So we can look at our lives and see that mastery is something we already have access to. It's the way we evolved. And so the mastery of the skill of mindfulness and meditation, the benefits of playing with mindfulness and meditation, maybe once every 12 hours or so, is that we spontaneously train in the remaining 6 folds of the path. For instance, the more we practice mindfulness and meditation, the more we cannot help but notice change. Not in a poetic way, not in a belief way. We just cannot help but notice change. The changing of the seasons, the changing of the cycle of the moon, the rising and the setting of the sun, the swelling and the sinking of our chest, the coming and the going of our emotions, the robustness and passing away of our loved ones. Ever changing, one and all, there is nothing permanent to grasp. The more we play with mindfulness and meditation, something amazing happens. You see, when we indulge our controlling tendencies, we have a tendency to actively concentrate and actively contemplate, to actively focus and actively analyze. And it's very fatiguing. That fatigue can drive us to present with symptoms of depression, no less trigger our amygdala, the seat of anxiety and aggression, which is a big fat bummer. But here's the cool thing. Neither the amygdala nor the prefrontal cortex constitute the entirety of our central nervous system. Consider the spinal cord, known as our autonomic nervous system. It has a sympathetic aspect in the middle and a parasympathetic nerve aspect at its tips. When we cooperate with them, something amazing happens. The late Tulku Thondup insisted that the highest love was the spontaneous and uncontrived byproduct of simply noticing and relaxing in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation. Every time we inhale, whether we mean to or not, we are accessing the middle bit of our spinal cord, but that has evolved to help us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. The easiest way to cooperate with this process is to silently and mentally recite the verb watch every time we feel our chest swell with breath. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not. The lower bit and the upper bit of that same spinal cord have evolved to help us to physically relax to such a degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, less defining, and as non-graspable as a vast empty void, like the illusion of the infinite azure sky or a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although could look tantalizing to the eye, could feel non-graspable to the hand. Simply by cooperating, by passively cooperating with our autonomic nervous system. Oh yeah, by the way, the key to cooperating with the process of meditation is to simply silently and mentally recite the verb rest. Every time we feel our chest subtly sink as gently we exhale. Simply by playing with this, not only does it calm our amygdala, but it gently stimulates our anterior cingulate gyrus, the seat of empathy. That manifests in the following four manners. It helps us to involuntarily feel kind intentions, to practice kind communication as well as kind conduct, and even kind commerce. We have evolved to transcend competition and flourish in cooperation. Now, a lot of people get anxious because I mentioned the downside to actively focusing and actively analyzing. But here's the cool thing. The more we cooperate the more we watch and rest in every 12 hours or so in coordination with our inhalation and our exhalation, the more our choices and utterances and deeds flow not from calculated contrivance, not from wild scatterness, but instead from love's deeply centered spontaneity. When we focus spontaneously, when we analyze spontaneously, that is where genius takes place. We cannot force genius. We cannot, but we can invite it by living our lives in such a way that we sustainably cooperate with our autonomic nervous system. Going through the loss of your grandmother, with clear eyes and an open heart, is good for her, makes her feel loved. She can sense your presence. She can sense your vulnerability, whether she is conscious or not. It's good for you. It's the safest way to process the slings and arrows of loss. And it's good for those around you because it'll help you to pay it forward and help others when they inevitably go through something remarkably similar. Having completed our opening lesson, let us now shift gears. It is Qui-Gon Jinn Tuesday mid-morning. At least it is here in Southern California. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after about 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is the Dzogchen Sende Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I have harnessed my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD hyperfocus to spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I can become your personal, nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to meditate like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. Every 15 minutes or so, it's okay to gently adjust your legs, listen to your body, or we ignore it at our peril. If you've just tuned in, mindfulness is simply the art of vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly watching mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, thought, memory, and imagination. The most efficient way to practice it is to silently and mentally recite the verb watch every time we feel our chest swell with breath. Meditation is simply relaxing in harmony with our exhalation to such a degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel a trifle less stressful, less permanent, less defining, and even less graspable. That is, of course, until our next inhalation when the cycle begins afresh, like the ticking pendulum of a grandfather clock. The most efficient way to practice meditation is to silently and mentally recite the verb rest every time we feel our chest subtly sink as gently we exhale. The moment you have a specific question about the philosophy and meditations of Taoism, Buddhism, Tantra, Dzogchen, Zen, or Mahamudra, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window, for I do check for questions about every 5 minutes or so. The free fall of meditation can sometimes trigger our rigid and controlling tendencies. A workaround is to play with a variation of Bengali crease counting. Let us touch the tip of our left thumb to the lowest set of creases at the base of its little finger, and then rest this left hand palms up in our lap. Every time we silently and mentally recite the verb watch as we inhale, we could advance our right thumb up the creases and tips of each of its fingers. Together, let us practice right now, beginning with the little. As you can tell, I've run out of places on my right hand upon which to rest my right thumb. That means it's time to advance my left thumb upon its little finger up to the second set of creases. Now you get the basic idea of how we can count 16 sets of 16 inhalations on our hands. It takes a little more than a minute to count 16 inhalations. It takes a little more than 20 minutes to count 16 sets of 16 inhalations each. In time, we may wish to meditate for more than 20 minutes. We could keep track of our first 20 minutes, our first collection of 16 sets of 16 inhalations each, by resting the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger upon the tip of our left middle finger, palms up in our lap. After having gathered our first collection, we could advance to our second knuckle. Having completed our second collection of 16 sets of 16 inhalations, we could advance to the third knuckle. Now, this might feel overwhelming. The antidote is simple: repetition. Practice it with me once every 12 hours or so, and within a week or two, this system you can master. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 3 1/3 hours, I would very much like to return to today's third session of meditating like a Jedi. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.